Strausberg. I'm host of the Strausberg Report. Before we begin the show, I'd like to extend my condolences to the family of the 23-year-old young man who was shot and killed right across the street from my church, St. Sabina. And my prayers go out to Father Michael Flager, who is in great pain.
Yes.
We've always said that the ground around St. Sabina was holy ground.
Yes.
And for them to shoot this young man just 4 hours after we held a peace march, a blue light peace march in honor of Dr. King, because
Yes.
Wednesday was Dr. King's birthday. It hurts me as well. So, Father Flager, if you are watching this, our prayers are with you.
Yes.
And please don't blame yourself for your activism, because I know sometimes you may be thinking that. Don't. You are doing exactly what Dr. King wanted you to do,
Yes.
and that is social action. But today we're going to be talking about Gerard Moore.
Yes.
He is a candidate for the 10th Representative District. That's an Illinois seat that was once held by Melissa Conyers Urban, who's now city treasurer. Welcome to the Strausberg Report.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share this time with you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You are a very beautiful person, inside and out too. I
Thank
can
you.
feel the spirit that you have. Tell us about you now. I want to go right to the juggler. You, at the age of 11,
Yes.
witnessed your father's murder.
Yes.
Tell us about that, and how did that affect you?
Well, it kind of stemmed. Well, let me just say this, because when I talk about this, it kind of, I get kind of emotional a little bit about it, because my story is not unique to just me. So many young people all over the district that I'm seeking to represent have either witnessed their father murdered, their mother murdered, or murdered someone themselves. So it is so important that we have representation and understand the need and the necessity to make sure that we provide the resources that's needed to deal with those young people that's experiencing this mental trauma. When I was 11, my father was murdered. At that point in my life, I had two options. Do I go after the guy that killed my father, or do I do everything in my power to prevent other young people from feeling that pain? I decided very young to commit myself to preventing other young people from feeling the pain that I felt. I got involved with the student council at a very young age. I was actually the convention secretary for the Chicago District Student Council Association. We host seminars for all of the young people that was involved in student council for the city of Chicago. Went to Flower Career Academy High School, where I played football. I was the captain of the football team. I participated in the student council there as well. Got involved with the Young Democrats at a very early age. Went to college, graduated from Northern Illinois University. Obtained my bachelor's degree in political science, where I started an organization, numerous organizations there. Afterwards, moved back to the community after leaving college to continue my involvement working for Congressman Danny K. Davis as his deputy district director. And currently I'm running for state representative, and I'm excited about the opportunity to serve, the opportunity to make a positive impact on my community. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. You're such a great person. I used to read you as a young kid, and I'm excited for an opportunity to be here.
But now, back to when you were 11, did you receive counseling
No.
afterwards?
And that's part of the reason why I protest with the teachers, because they was right. They are right. We need wraparound services for students. You never know what a student is going through when they walk in your door. They need nurses. They need psychologists and psychiatrists. They need counselors. We need more money for after-school programs. We need more money for sports programs. That's what saved me. I was involved with football. My coach was my counselor, but he didn't have no professional training to be a counselor. I just admired him because he had a nice car, so I listened to him. But what if he didn't have a nice car? Would I be sitting across from you right now? Or would you be writing about me because I just shot somebody in front of St. Sabina? And that's the difference.
So how did you escape not getting in the games?
Well, I never said I escaped it. I never said I escaped it. When you growing up in a community where it's full of gang involvement, it's full of drug involvement, and all this different stuff. It's hard to escape it, but you have to deal with it. I had to deal with it. I had choices, as I mentioned to you. On my block, gunshots was just like seeing a car ride past. Drug selling was just like eating food. So it was a norm. I had to make a decision. As I mentioned, Congressman Danny K. Davis came into my life when I was young, and he showed me something different, and I believed him. He told me you can do something better with yourself, and I believed him. And a lot of people don't have that.
How did you meet him?
Well, a guy named Harry Reese. Harry Reese lived 2 doors down from me, and he used to see me out there throwing rocks and being bad, but I was always the leader. And he'd say, you can do something different. Come on, come with me. And then he took me to Congressman Davis' meeting, and his voice, he was, hey, young
baritone.
man. Oh, he was talking like that, and I was intrigued. I wanted to learn more, so I just started going to the meetings on my own. Even when Mr. Reese didn't take me, I'll go on my own. And one day the congressman asked Reese to bring me to the office, and he took me to a Bulls game. And he really had me then. He took me to a Bulls game, and from that point forward, I looked to him for direction, and I thank God for him.
As a father figure.
Definitely.
That is awesome. Okay, so now there's a lot of violence in, now you have 120,000 constituents?
Yes.
And what kind of neighborhoods does that encompass?
Well, the 10th Legislative District is a microcosm of the city of Chicago. We have people from affluent communities on the north end, very impoverished communities on the south end of the district. We got Bucktown and Wicker Park on the north, and we got East Garfield, West Garfield, North Lawndale
My goodness.
on the south. You got the United Center, you got Fulton Market. It's a very diverse district.
And you got about 20 hospitals.
Yes. It's a very diverse district. There's a lot of resources there. And what I'm suggesting we need to do, we need to put more funding into mental health. As I mentioned to you, growing up as a young man and witnessing my father being murdered and witnessing my mother struggle every day, I love that woman unconditionally. She had 8 children, 5 boys, 3 girls, single mom, this tall, but demanded respect, and we all respected her. Whether she was going to use the belt, the extension cord, the baseball bat,
Extension cord.
baseball bat,
Baseball bat.
television, Christmas tree. Oh man, I never forget.
Christmas. How did you whip somebody with a Christmas
I'm gonna just
tree?
tell you, I'd never forget. So she told us to make sure the dishes was out the sink, and we all went to sleep. I was smart. I knew we didn't wash them dishes, so I put on 2 or 3 pair of pants. I know what's about to happen when she come in the door. So she unplugged the tree, and I'm laying on the couch. I'm like, Mama, I was trying to wake them up. She hit me with the tree, boom.
No.
But I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't abuse, because when you're a single mother, you only can do what you know. And what she knew was these big boys. She this little. She got these big growing boys. We only teenagers, but we big. Towering over her, she had to give respect. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have went to college. She was strong. I would have never had an opportunity to meet Mr. Reese or Congressman Davis. So it takes strong parenting skills. That's why I think it's so important that we put more money in early childhood education, and we put more money into parenting. Because no matter what we teach the children in school, when they go home, their family teaching them something totally different.
Right.
They unteaching them.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of work need to be done. I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I'm ready to fight for my community and bring the resources that's needed back.
Well, I admire your mom. I'm 4'11".
Wow.
Both my parents.
Y'all about the same height.
Yeah. Both my parents worked 2 jobs, so I had to run the house. But and of course my brother and my sister are taller than me. But I used the Pavlov system because I
Okay.
didn't believe in spanking, punishment and reward.
Okay.
So your mom was. I admire her.
Yeah. And even to this day, no one plays with Miss Daisy. You know,
Is that what they call her, Miss Daisy?
Miss Daisy, her name is Daisy Moore. And nobody plays with, like even me. Yes, ma'am.
She wouldn't whip you today, would she?
Yes, she have.
What?
Oh, let me just give you let me just give you a little story. Share a story with you. So Oh, I'm running for state representative. I'm this big guy. I come down there, Mom, you know, what's going on? What's going on? You feeling yourself, right? So I said, no. She said, so I put together a commercial, and I talked about in the commercial about my father being murdered and all this, and I didn't mention her.
Oops.
And I told her, I said, I didn't mention you in this one, but we got another one that we getting ready to do on education. And I want to talk about how because of you, even though you didn't have a formal education, you still instilled in us the importance of getting an education. I want to make a big deal about that. She said, no, well, I got to be second. I want mine now. So we ended up doing hers first because I ain't want no problem. But I love my mother, and if you're watching, you are a jewel in my life, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and I love you so much.
That is very beautiful. Now, on this violence, if elected, what would you do to try to make a difference?
Well, as I mentioned to you earlier, the number one thing we need to do is to put more funding into mental health. I serve on the board of directors for Bobby E. Wright Mental Health Clinic.
Okay.
Right now, I've been there for the last 6 or 7 years. And what I realize is not enough money being put into mental health. We need to do more. We need to do more with once a person get locked up and go to prison for a violent crime, that we actually become a department of correction and actually correct the problem, opposed to having them become repeated offenders.
You mean correct the problem while they're there?
While they're there, because they got to get back out, and before they even get there, we got to do something about it with the mental health services. And this is what I'm realizing. As long as we have private entities owning these prisons, and these lobbies, they lobbying the different lawmakers and stuff like that, they're going to make sure that our prisons is filled with black and brown boys and girls. So we have to not privatize these prisons. The states need to own these prisons, and the funding from the prison need to be put into reentry. As long as you got these private entities making money off the back of our young boys and girls, they're going to continue to be filled with them. Violence is going to continue to escalate in our community.
But there's another problem. There are now about 6,000 people at Cook County Jail. I talked to one of the young men who just got out of jail, and he said that the ones he tried to stay away from them because, and I said why? Because they were talking about when they get out, they're going to do the same thing. I'm going to kill him because he killed my friend. So, but nobody's doing anything.
Mental instability.
I know, but then what I'm saying is that no one in the jail is addressing that problem.
Because
And that's where
they not. I don't think they actually
resources
being trained. They not really trained. That's not the purpose of the jail system, to correct the problem.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be, but that's not the purpose right now.
They just house them.
They just house them, and that's the problem. They just house them. Somebody get paid off the clothes that the guys are wearing. Somebody get paid off the soap that they're using, the toilet paper, the food that they're eating.
Yeah.
And if we correct the problem, they go out of business. They're not trying to correct the problem, and that's the issue.
But still, what I'm saying is that we need someone to go in there and talk to these kids about not trying to get even. And no one's doing that. No one is trying to find out why they got there. They just house them.
It's a systematic problem. It's not just about them going to prison. That's just one part. It's not just about them shooting a gun. That's just one part. It's not just about them being addicted to a illegal substance. That's just one part. It's not just about them going through economic hardship. That's just one part. Or them growing up without their family members and stuff like that. That's just one part. It's a comprehensive approach that we need to deal with. All of those are issues, and we can't pick one out and say that's the issue or that's the issue. This is a systematic problem that's been going on since slavery. It ain't just started. They want to keep our black and brown young men in these prisons, and we have to address the issue and deal with it for what it is. We have to come together and understand that it ain't about one individual. It's about a system that's been designed to keep us down, and we have to figure out how do we come together, opposed to saying you lighter than me or you darker than me or you from the south side or you from the west side or you 6'1" or you 4'1".
The Willie Lynch letter.
Exactly. We have to come together and say we want to make a difference, because it's up to us. I'll never forget, I was your pastor, Father Flager. I was listening to him speak one day, and he said, police tape and teddy bears should no longer be the landmark of our community. And it is. It's the landmark of our community. You can go on any block in some of these impoverished areas, and you will see where some teddy bears there in remembrance to a person. That's their legacy.
Or a tree with ribbon.
That's their legacy. We have to do something different. And when I use the term we, I'm saying whether it's the older leaders, the younger leaders, and the future leaders, everyone needs a seat at the table. And we need to put together a serious agenda for black folk and be serious about it. It don't matter. We don't even need a leader, because that's the problem. When you make a person a leader, now the other person don't want to work. We don't need no leader. We just need people to come together with their ideas and lead from the table with an agenda.
What would be the agenda?
If I knew that, I'd be running for president opposed to state and representative. So I don't know that. I don't know what that agenda would be, but I would love to be at the table to learn more. And I'm not a person to think that I have all the answers. I understand that no man is an island. The only way I can be great if I surround myself around great people.
There are a lot of closed schools. Your Flowery School is now closed.
Well, they closed it down, and then they changed the name to Al Raby, which is a better name, but the history with Lucy Flower. See, and this is another thing too. Them closing down the schools, it was more than just a building being closed down. Some people attach themselves to their school. Schools are the beacon of the community. And when you close these schools down, you close down 20 years ago, my grandmother went there. Or 15 years ago, my mother went there. So you close down a whole legacy. And it's by design. It's not by mistake. None of this stuff is by mistake. And I'm bold enough to say that. I don't care who I'm sitting across, I'm bold enough to say that, because the only thing you can do is kill me. And then I go to heaven. And then I go to heaven, a better place. So, and we need leaders like that. We got to be fearless. We got to be unbought and unbossed. We got to be serious about making a difference in our community.
But the closed schools, you think that we should reopen them and have them as after-school programs?
Whatever we do with those schools, there needs to be a strategic plan to make sure that it's beneficial for the community, and that we have a plan to enhance the quality of life of that community. Because you can open up the schools, and then, like Westinghouse, there's a school on the west side, Westinghouse. They tore the school down, build a brand new school, and we not there. So you can reopen the schools.
You mean it's white?
It's not white, but it's not like the history is gone.
Oh yeah.
The history is gone. Miss Smith ain't there no more. The principal that was there 30 years ain't there no more. So the history is gone, and that's the problem. History is so important. That's why people work so hard to maintain their history and protect their history. That's why the Bible is so important, because it's history. That's why the Quran is so important, because it's history. And if you don't understand history, you won't understand the future. So when they take history out of our community, now we losing direction as it relates to where we need to go. That's why I think history is so important. There's a lot of work to do. That's why I mentioned there's a comprehensive approach we need to take to making a difference. So when I go down to Springfield, I want to make laws that would benefit my community. I want to advocate on behalf of those that can't advocate for themselves. I'm prepared to do that. I got involved in politics when I was very young. I was taught by the best, one of the best. Congressman Danny K. Davis.
Yeah, Danny
Davis.
Davis.
And I admire that man a lot. And there's a lot of work to do. He's not perfect. I want to build on what he's done and elevate it to a whole nother level. And I think I'm prepared to do that.
So what are you doing campaigning?
Oh man, it's exciting. As I was mentioning to you prior to us going on the air, it's different when you're running for office. Like, I always help people. I helped President Barack Obama. I helped Carol Moseley Bryan when she was running for Senate. I helped President Bill Clinton. I helped, you name them, I helped them. Whoever the congressman was supporting, Melissa Conyers Urban, who became the first West Side citywide elected official, I helped her. But now that I'm running, it's a difference. So every person that ever ran for office, I admire them even more, because I understand the sacrifice. I have a new daughter that's 17 months. I have a 17-year-old daughter getting ready for college. I have a new wife I was just married 2 years ago who want my attention. So I got 3 girls in the house and me. So I got a lot of stuff I can be doing besides knocking on doors and talking to people and doing all that. But I understand that sacrifice is necessary right now. When I look out the door and I can't walk my daughter to the store because it's gun violence, Somebody got to do something about that. I can't take. I got to drive to the suburbs to enjoy my daughter at the park. Somebody got to do something about that. Why not let it be me? So I made a commitment to my community about 6 months ago when I announced my candidacy for state representative. And I told them I'm going to do everything in my powers to fight to bring the resources back to the community as it relates to mental health, drug treatment facilities, social service agencies that depend on state funding to keep their doors open. We need to continue to do that. I'm prepared to fight to bring a 24-hour mental triage center to different pockets of the community where violence is high. Because if we have these mental triage centers, before these people pull a trigger, they may want to knock on your door. Sometimes they just need somebody to talk to or somebody to say, I'm going through some stuff. We need to prepare these psychologists to deal with that.
What about the small businesses, the African American businesses? How would you improve that?
Well, as it relates to small businesses, if you go to Forest Park, which is right outside of Chicago, or Oak Park, right outside of the west side of Chicago, and you ride down Lake Street, you see a lot of small businesses. And these people who own these businesses live in a community. No violence, little to no violence, no trash and all that on the street and all that.
It's not black owned.
It's not black owned. So the model is there. We need to bring the small businesses is the heartbeat of a community. If you don't have no small businesses, you don't have the money is going into these big businesses right out the community.
It's the backbone of America,
It's
actually.
exactly.
And someone told me that a long time ago that there were black...
You're not that old, so it couldn't be that long ago.
They told me a long time ago there were black businessmen on Madison Avenue?
Yes.
I can't believe that.
After the riots, the Martin Luther King riots, they burned down a lot of stuff in the west side of Chicago, in that area. Never recovered from that. And it's not by mistake. You draw down the property value, you bring these other people in, they build it up, and now you're no longer able to afford to stay there. And that's what's happening.
Regentification.
Regentification, definitely. Even like they asked about my opinion about bringing a casino to the west side of Chicago. I'm open to bringing the casino, but at what cost? You bring the casino, now the property tax go up, the property value go up, and these homeowners that's been there 30, 40 years, they no longer able to afford their properties no more because the taxes is through the roof. Now they got to move out. Not if we got to sacrifice that. I'm not for it. So when we talking about developing these communities, we got to have a serious plan. I'm not an expert at it. I will definitely bring a group of people together, stakeholders in the community that been working on that particular area for a long time, bring them to the table, and we figure out the best approach to doing it. So my approach to being a legislative and representative in that community is inclusion, because I know I don't have all the answers, but I have the passion and the heart to represent whatever we come up with at the table. I'm going to stick to the plan and be unwavered and unmoved. So yeah.
You're for the casino coming to Chicago?
Yes. It's all about how we do it. Everything has got to be tactful and done the right way, because if you don't, you'll have people spending their rent money or their mortgage money trying to get something that ain't going to never come.
Absolutely.
So we got to educate. It's just like even with this legalizing the marijuana, we talked about that on the show, but we got cut off. We need money. Everybody know we need money. But at what cost?
I was going to ask you about that.
At what cost?
Marijuana stuff. On the record, I have never tried marijuana. Will never try it. It smells like horse manure. I don't understand why people smoke that. It gets in your clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your opinion of that, and do you support it?
Well, I wouldn't vote against it. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't vote against it. I think we should have thought it out a little bit more. We have no African American owning nothing.
Right.
Does that bother you?
It bothers me. It bothers me. But what bothers me more is the people who voted for it. Don't complain now that after you done voted for it already.
Right.
Don't complain now. What about when it was time to negotiate at the table? I know the governor is a billionaire. I know he's a billionaire. I know with one stroke of the pen he can outraise most of us. But at some point you got to be able to stand for something. And our community have no participation at all. We ain't owning nothing, but we're going to be the biggest consumers again. I have a problem with that.
But it's like Reverend Jackson and Cook County Clerk of the Circuit Court Dorothy Brown said it right. It's a trick bag because you cannot smoke pot in the street. You can smoke it in your house, but you can't smoke it on your porch. You get arrested.
So, again,
So what's the point?
we got to keep the prisons full. That's the point. You see my point? We talked about that earlier in the show.
But most of the people in the lines all across the city of Chicago and the state were white.
Because
But
those not going to be the ones that get caught. The black market is still here. And it's too expensive there. So what you would pay on the street, $10, is probably $100 there. So they not going to be in those lines. So the guys that you see driving in their car smoking, and they not getting it from there.
So what are you saying, that the street sales will continue?
Of course, it elevated because now they saying that stuff is bunk down there. We got the real stuff. Now they putting more chemicals on it to make it stronger, to be more competitive. So
You mean formaldehyde?
I don't know the name. I guess that's what it is. So
Formaldehyde is what you embalm people with.
So what I'm saying to you is,
And that's what I'm told they put in that stuff that smells like horse manure.
that's just what you know.
I don't know.
That's just what you know.
I don't know. I'm told this.
It's a lot of work to do, man. That's why I say mental health is so important. Education
We need
is
more
so important.
mentors like the one that you had, Congressman Danny Davis, who can go to these schools and talk to these kids to let them know that drugs are not good, that they can kill you.
Right.
They're killing our children now.
Right.
Not just the guns killing our children. These synthetic drugs are killing our children.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. But we got to make sure that we have people that these young people can connect to going to these schools. They don't look, I mean, unfortunately, the congressman is a great man, but some of these young people may not look to him as a role model. They may look to him they may not look to him as
So
a
who
person.
should we bring to the schools?
We need to change the way the music, it's the music,
Yes.
it's the video games, it's the movies that they're watching, it's the culture.
They'll
So
say First Amendment right.
it's a culture.
Right. But what do you tell
Until it
them?
start going in Oak Park and Forest Park and Oak Brook, as it's spilling over there, then they going to change it. It's going to be more restrictions.
Well, the killings now are going to over there.
And they going
In Schaumburg and up north, Wilmette. The killing, these kids are getting bold.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
they're going up north and they're knocking people down and
Yes.
robbing them. It's no longer the black community because they know the money is up there and not in their own community.
But eventually it's going to be people committing these crimes that's not black. Because if I'm not cleaning up the trash in my yard, eventually it's going to pile up and spill over in your yard if I don't clean up my yard. If I just keep dumping trash in my yard, eventually it's going to spill over to the next yard. And that's what's happening. That's why they legalizing the marijuana, because a lot of these white kids get caught with it.
Oh, I see. What
You
you're
see what I'm
saying.
saying? So it's just a matter of time. We just have to continue to create brain trust all over the community, all over the black community, to try and come up with creative ways to work together. Because as long as we divide it, they're going to continue to run over our community. We're going to continue to be considered second-class citizens. We're going to continue to fill up the Stateville prison and Cook County jail. We have to figure out a way to unify ourselves and have one agenda
Now,
and work
the
together.
brain trust you're talking about black folk or black and white?
I'm talking about black folks. Before we can mix it all up, we got to get ourselves together first.
Come on.
We got to get ourselves together. I'm not racist at all. I actually started an organization, a multi-ethnic advisory task force for Congressman Davis, where we have people from all over the world come together to
I've
put
met
things
them.
together. But charity begins at home. And at some point, we have to love ourselves enough to fix our community, because if we depend on somebody else to fix it,
Yes.
we got a
don't
problem.
love ourselves. How are you going
That don't mean we can't
This
love
is
ourselves.
a post-traumatic syndrome slavery that we're suffering. We don't trust each other. We don't love each other.
Right.
And we don't like black people because they're dark or because they're light-skinned or their hair is straight and curly. That whole Willie Lynch syndrome thing still exists today.
So my
How do you get
position,
rid of that?
my position is this. Just because it's never been, that don't mean it can't be. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to try. That's all I can do, is try my best to bridge the gap between the light and the dark, the young and the old.
Like Reverend Jesse Jackson's new book, Keeping Hope Alive.
We got to keep it alive. He may not have accomplished everything he wanted to, but he made a step. Now it's up to the next generation to make a step. And if we continue to make steps, at some point we'll get there. Martin Luther King was a great man. He didn't do it himself. He tried. Reverend Jackson carried the mantle. Now it's time for young people like myself and other people to continue on their legacy. Change, like King said, change don't roll in on wheels of inevitability. Take constant struggle and constant trying. So we just have to continue to struggle and continue to try. And at some point we'll get there. We just have to keep working.
How would you make our schools better?
Well, we need to teach black history in our schools.
Wait,
It's actually a law on the books.
Yes.
1991.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
going to tell you about 1991. It was passed, and it sat on the shelf somewhere for 21 years until 2014.
Yes.
When Dr. Barbara Bird Bennett
Mhm.
met with the faith community at Harvest Baptist Church. I was there. Reverend Walter Turner allowed me to ask the last question. I asked her, would you obey the 1991 law? She didn't know about it. So we explained it to her. She put together a curriculum, Black history, that Black history was taught in every subject. I saw and approved the curriculum. It was massive books. It's not being taught.
Right.
Because that's counterproductive for
But
them.
it's not just Chicago. It's all over
Yeah.
over Illinois.
It's counterproductive. If an enlightened black man is dangerous to the structure, the current structure right now. I'm telling you,
Why are white people afraid of you?
they not really afraid. They don't know me. They know me better than I know myself,
No,
and
they
that's
do,
the problem.
They do fear black men.
They fear us, but they know we're not gonna do nothing. They kill our leaders to make an example of what we better not be. That's just the reality of it. You don't want to rise up, because if you do, you're gonna end up like King. You're gonna end up like Malcolm. You're gonna end up like anybody else that's trying to stand up, and that's a problem.
Or you get indicted.
Or you get indicted. They'll find something on you. So we just have to create some type of system, and this is serious. Like, that's why I tell people, this is serious business for me. I got a new baby, a new wife. I can be doing a lot of stuff. But this time right now is too vital for our community to play around. That's why I tell the guy that I'm running against right now, he don't think we need nurses in schools. He don't think we need librarians in schools. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. So we just have to do what we need to do. I told him, even if I'm not elected and you are elected, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to meet with you and do whatever I can do to make sure you're successful. Because it's not about me as an individual. It's about an agenda. And if we remove ourselves as individuals and have an agenda, and we stick to the agenda, we'll be moving in the right direction. But if we just trying to say, oh yeah, I'm a state representative, or I'm a congressman, or I'm an alderman, and I'm this, you ain't nothing by yourself. You ain't nothing by yourself. You have to have the community to buy into what you're doing. You have to build relationships with other people, create an agenda, and move forward. Other races is doing that. And I'm not a racist, but I love myself. And when I look out the window and I see the police got the black guys on the ground, they hands behind, they pants down, and my daughter's seeing that, and my nephew's seeing that, they become the norm. And eventually they're going to think that's okay. So we have to do something about it. And that's just the way it is.
What about contracts? Blacks don't get contracts.
I was going to bring that up. We definitely don't get contracts. We definitely don't get contracts. And it's all about a system. As I mentioned to you, systematic problems need systematic change. So whether it's contracts, whether it's the school system not teaching black history, whether it's the prisons, whether it's not enough African Americans on the police force, not enough African Americans firefighters, not enough African American male teachers. All of that is a part of a system, and we have to change it one step at a time.
Gerard Mora, he's running for 10th Representative District. You've heard what he has to say. You've heard his agenda, and I hope you vote for him. I'm Chinta Strausberg, host of the Strausberg Report, and we'll see you next time.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phew.